Okay, so we are going to study today about the case study method of research. Case study method of research, which is a particular type of research which is generally taken up when we have quite clear knowledge about the subject, and we are in a situation that we can analyze each case, and then when we analyze the case we find that what theory is to which the things are associated. Once we can do that, then we can put it in some portions where we actually relate and find it a solution. A simple example is when you go to a doctor. A doctor has studied about different diseases. He knows about the details. He might have gained a lot through his experiences as well. But for him, you are a case. So he understands the problem and then try to relate with similar problem which is there in his knowledge bank. Either he has gathered through his bookish knowledge or through his experiences or through discussion with someone. That these are the cases. When these problems are there, these are quite common human problems. These are the ways in which, or medicines with which we can handle them. So that's why when as a researcher you look into a case, you should be an expert in hand. It means that you need to have a thorough knowledge about the subject concerned. Then and only then you can think that you can, okay, let us go ahead and we can solve these issues. So let us go to some of the slides and see what is there in the definition of a case study. It is a way of organizing social data so as to preserve the unitary character of the social object being studied, expressed somewhat differently. It is an approach which views any social unit as a whole. So this is about approaches of how the social unit is done as a whole. So this is about organizing social data and preserving the unitary character. That means we look at whenever we look at a social aspect, there is a generalization about a society. So you look at that point, but we maintain the individualistic approach as well. So each individual is a unit and a unit has its own characteristics, but to a great extent or some of the features at least can be generalized. So that is what this definition is about. Another definition from Brisnas is that it is a form of qualitative analysis for involving the very careful and complete observation of a person, a situation, or an institution. So this is a qualitative analysis. So there is nothing quantitative. Obviously, it will not be much of quantitative because we are generally examining one individual or rather one unit. So things when studied in a bulk, we can classify it, we can get some data out of that. But here only one, maybe industry, maybe organization, maybe an individual will be studied, and hence it is not a quantitative technique, rather a qualitative technique. We have another definition by Young. But case study is a method of explaining and analyzing the life of a social or a business unit. Maybe that is a person, maybe a family, a institution, or a cultural group, or even the entire community. So this is about, he tells that this is about explaining or analyzing life, which may be of an organization in the form of an individual or a family or a society even. Now these characteristics of case study, that is only one cohesive and homogeneous unit is studied. The only unit that is studied is done both intensively and extensively. Intensively means we actually look into the internal issues of that particular organization, and extensively means we find out also its relation with its peer group or with its rivals. For example, suppose an industry, if we look into a industry, a case study of a particular industry in a particular sector, then we look into the internal matters, internal concern, internal governance of that particular organization, as well as we find out how it faces the competition from other external agencies or external organization or rival companies. So both these things will be studied in unison. It discusses the complex behavioral pattern of the unit and also rationally accounts for them. So there might be some behavioral pattern, maybe for an organization in the form of advertisement, in the form of product they are launching, in the features they are embedding in the product, and so on. So now when these things are done through these complex behavioral patterns are being explained. The success of this method depends on the proper collection of material about each aspect of the unit. So the method actually will be studied. The method depends on proper collection of material about each aspect of the unit. The success of the method depends on the proper collection of material about each aspect of the unit. So every aspect, not only the aspect on which your interest is, but some other aspect might also be studied. For example, you might be concerned with the advertisement issues of a particular company, but when you study it, you may find that several other factors might also be related to this particular thing. And the postulates: no two units are totally different from each unit, and all units share a common nature. So two units are totally different from each unit, and all units have a common nature. So if we bring two units, two individuals, two organizations, two companies producing similar things, they will find that there is a lot of difference in their governance, even though they are producing the same things. And since they are producing the same things, some things will be there which is common in both the organizations. So even between two individuals, there are something in common, something is different. There is, however, some difference in their behavior. The social and economic conditions can reoccur after certain time gaps, and so such studies are relevant only after a long period of time. So the case study of one particular, for example, legally, many a times what happens when the cases go to a court, many a time there might be some gap in the law itself. The law might not be very specific to that particular problem, that particular issue. In that case, the court generally takes decision on the basis of several other court cases which might have been in practice or might have been done in some other organization, some other high court, some other municipal court, or some other in Supreme Court in the country. So these decisions taken from other courts can be applied in a particular case in the court of law. Similarly, for analyzing these case studies, for example, there is labor disturbance in a particular organization because of lack of medical facilities or lack of safety measures. The similar type of things might have happened in other organizations also. Now, if we find a case study on how this problem was addressed in that particular organization, this might help in decision making. So these case studies, they sometimes repeat itself. Maybe there is a time gap, but some when you do a lot of case studies, you gain sufficient experience about them. The method is successful if the researcher is emotionally matured and has a thorough understanding of relevant theory. That is relevant theory and knowledge of relevant theory and maturity. These are the two. Now, what are the data sources of case studies? Diaries, memories, autobiographies, personal correspondence with close units, that means close people, or maybe organization from one organization to another, or from an organization to government, what the correspondent made, and involving in a discussion with the unit leading to creation of certain situation. So maybe that in some cases that I want to contact the individual, I want to find out that let us take up a creating of a certain situation. This I have a story about this. So that is I would like to share with you. This is a film. Name of the film is Maine Gandhi Ko Nahi Mara. It was released in 2005. I think some of you might have watched this movie also. And it was this was in the leading role. There is an old man. Role was played by Anupam Kher, and the daughter of Anupam Kher, that was Urmila Matondkar. So they actually both of them acted in this movie, and the name of the movie is Maine Gandhi Ko Nahi Mara. So this is a film by Jhanu Borua. So he had made this film. This is quite an interesting type of film. So let us, those who have don't know the story, let me share the story because this can be considered as an interesting case. Now, what happens? You see, this is a professor of chemistry, Anupam Kher, in a college in Mumbai, and his daughter is Urmila Matondkar. Okay, there is no problem now. So he is a professor in chemistry. At the end of his retirement period, 2-3 years prior to the retirement period, he developed a disease of forgetting things. We may call it little bit of Alzheimer, little bit of dementia. So all this mix. A little forgetting. For example, his class is in chemistry department. He went to the English department and started taking class of chemistry in the English department. Some students told us, sir, we are teaching something else. It's not our subject. Then he realized that, by mistake I came to the English department. I should have gone to chemistry department. So this happened when his age was before retirement. And after retirement, then it started to develop. Now, Incidentally, it was found that he uh, was somehow he was getting very inclined to Gandhiji, and he was not a follower of Gandhi or something like. For example, one day in his home, a party, a group of people came. It was a matrimonial relationship talk for his daughter, where the ladke wale ke ghar se people came. Now, there was a newspaper, and in that newspaper there was a photograph of Mahatma Gandhi. Okay. Now, this person, the ladka ka pita, who was drinking tea, kept the tea cup on the photograph of Mahatma Gandhi, and Mahatma Gandhi got drenched by the tea, cup of tea. Now, at this, suddenly he became very angry and turned them out of the room. That why you have kept the cup on over Gandhi? Don't you have some sense? He is the father of the nation. So this started to develop in him. Some days he even forgot the way which leads to his home. And then, in due course of time, he started to think that people are thinking that he has killed Mahatma Gandhi. Right? So he started to believe that people are thinking that he had killed Mahatma Gandhi. And so he started to collect some documents, some materials uh, in he started to collect some materials which tells that Mahatma Gandhi was not killed by him. It was killed by someone else, and he started to convince people, collecting different documents, and that was his only topic of discussion. Whenever anyone comes to visit him, he started to tell him that, okay, you see, actually it is wrong that all people are telling that I am killing Mahatma Gandhi. It is not wrong. I have never killed Mahatma Gandhi. And he is showing all old newspapers which shows that Nathuram Godse killed Mahatma Gandhi. In this way, things were developing, and there was a lot of. Then his daughter take him to many doctors and all, but it was not been cured. They used to give him some medicine, he used to sleep, but when he wake up, the same thing came back to him. Now, at this juncture, there was a young doctor, psychiatrist, who came to the town, and Urmila Matondkar met that individual with a actually aim of treating this person. The person had lot of sittings with Anupam Kher, and then he found out that there was some reason why he was believing this. The reason was that during their childhood in 1940s, 40s and 50s, they used to play a game where they used to hang a photograph of a person, and in his body they used to put balloons filled with water, red water, and from far away, play little bit far, 3 5 4 5 6 feet away, they used to shoot arrows towards that particular photograph of that individual. And since in the photographs there were balloons hung, water balloons hung with red color, so one or two arrows would have struck those balloon, and balloon would have busted. When the balloon blasted, red water used to come fall in the body of the photograph, and it would roll down the body of the photograph, and they would have claimed that they had killed that individual. That was their game which they used to play during their childhood. And it was 30th January, no, 29th January 1948, the one day prior to the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. And they were playing the same game, but that day they did not get any photograph to hang over which they could put the balloon of water balloons and shoot at the water balloons. But incidentally, someone collected a photograph of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was placed in that wall. In that wall, they stuck the photograph of Mahatma Gandhi, and they stuck some balloon also around the body of Mahatma Gandhi. Then they were shooting at the balloon. One of the arrows hit. It was shot by him, Anupam Kher, in his childhood, and that shoot a balloon, and the balloon blasted, and blood was falling down. Means red water was falling down the body of the photograph. And maine maar diya, he was claiming like that. At that time, his father, who happened to be a Gandhivadi, was actually walking by that road. He saw that his son has put the photograph of Mahatma Gandhi and shooting at it. So he slapped his son, that is Anupam Kher, and bring him to their residence. Next day, Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated by Nathuram Godse. Now, when the Mahatma Gandhi was associated by Nathuram Godse, then Nathuram Godse, his father was very furious. His father beat him up with sticks so much so that at night he was out down with fever. And his father was telling that yesterday you played that nasty game, and that's the reason why Mahatma Gandhi was killed today. You gave an indication, and that is what got materialized. And this is not the this is not you are the killer of Mahatma Gandhi. Like that, his father was scolding him. And then several years passed by, the same thing remained in the mind of Anupam Kher. And now, from his subconscious mind, this is coming back to his conscious mind. And he is becoming aware as if he has really killed Mahatma. Or the blame of killing Mahatma is on him. Why? But he has not killed Mahatma. But people are blaming that he has killed Mahatma. That became almost a firm belief for Anupam Kher. That was the story which was extracted by the new psychiatrist or fresh psychiatrist, young psychiatrist, and some psychiatrist. This is what. Now he told this back to Urmila Matondkar, who is to take her father for this treatment. Now Urmila Matondkar at that point told that what is the solution to the problem. He told that medicines will not work. Let us create a court trial and let us present in the court Mr. Kher as a convicted person, convicted of the charge of killing the Mahatma. And now let the court, let there be a lawyer, let there be a defense lawyer, and let the court run. And then ultimately, at some point of time, सारे गवाहों, सबूतों और बयानों को मद्देनजर रखते हुए अदालत इस नतीजे पर पहुंचती है कि अनुपम खेर ने महात्मा गांधी का मर्डर नहीं किया है और उनको बेकसूर खलास करती. So like this, something like this dramatized this situation. So initially it was difficult how to create a courtroom, but in the movie everything is possible. So it was shown that they asked to the court authorities. So court authorities provided them a room, and they hired some actors. Like they hired Boman Irani as the public prosecutor. So this is Boman Irani, public prosecutor. So they actually are all drama artists, stage artists. So she hired all of them. They created a situation. They created a lot of pressure on, like as in a court. It happens in a court. And at the end of this entire exercise, when the judge at the end declares that Anupam Kher has not killed Mahatma, after that he also started to believe that now everyone believes that I have not killed Mahatma and I am not guilty. So this person, so he was mentally, he became free, and then it was shown in that movie that mentally he has become okay. Now in this movie what happens, they have created a situation. So whenever you want to extract information in some of the cases, not in all cases, but in some of the cases, especially in psychological cases, or in this type of dramatized or situations are created in order to understand what is the reaction of the subject would be in such a situation. So this is an interesting story, so I decided like to share with you. Let us look at some problems in case study method. The researcher may develop an idea that all the aspects related to the case is well attended by him or her. So some of the important points might have been overlooked. Selection of the points surrounding the case is done by the researcher, and there is no well-defined procedure to do that. So here actually things are not so much methodical as in other types of research. Other types of research, there is a format, there is a framework, there is a blueprint which you can follow so that you can reach from identifying problem to finding a solution to the problem. But in case studies, it is not so sound, it is not so strict, it is not so formal, because case study depend on the case you may have to change your strategies. So accordingly, all pros and cons are to be taken care of. All things which are inclusive, which are exclusive, needs to be taken into consideration. The report of the study may become biased and may be argued in favor of the unit under consideration. So it is very important for the researcher to be remain unbiased. For example, suppose you are studying a case of a particular organization. Why this organization uh, uh, could not survive long or has gone downwards over the years. So when you perform this study, you have to consider all, that is why it is called both internal and external cases, implicit and explicit. So implicit and explicit, if you don't study, if you only go on, because it is easier for a case study to get carried away by implicit cases. I tell about my problem, I tell about my difficulties, I tell. So you understand, you listen to my story only, not the other story from the other side. So accordingly, the entire picture gets very hazy, picture gets very unclear, and the person may become biased to in favor of the researcher. The researcher may become biased. Now, countering the problems, many defects of the methods can be removed by providing proper training to the researcher. Because the researcher who is going to do a case study needs to have good idea about the theories, about the cases, should remain unbiased, which can be trained how to remain unbiased. The study shall be well planned, and while planning, some general principles shall be laid and observed. So the study should be well planned. So there should be a well planned, and some general principles should be laid and observed. The interview shall be pre-arranged. That means the person concerned should be informed that we will come from the interview. We will ask you this type of questions. We want what your feelings are without any biasness. Whatever you feel, that is you are to express. Unless and until there is a case where we need to create a situation. Other than that, the discussion is in taking consent of the respondent. But this is the respondent, this is the discussion will do this. The unit shall be selected such that it can be considered as a representative of the group towards which the study is targeted. So a representative of the group is there, and the study should be targeted. The unit shall be selected such that it can be considered as a representative of the group. That means it may be a representative of a group. Means suppose I want to perform that. There was a question also, like in the assignment, that how to make a questionnaire to actually extract information from the people who are taking this MBA executive program. Now, one way and a simple way of collecting this information is that I don't ask everyone, I don't take a survey of that, but I keep on discussing with one student, one particular student. Maybe Shubhra Bora, who is my coordinator of this event, of this paper. So what I do, I discuss with him how he feels, what are the problems, what are the issues, which papers he liked most, why he liked most. Then there is a campus program, then whether he enjoys going to the campus and staying there, what are the difficulties that others are facing when they want to come to the campus, or there is no difficulty at all. So I discuss with him, I consider him as a case, and then studying this I am trying to generalize my results. That okay, these people are telling like this, yeah, MBA department has started a program, executive MBA, yeah, this is good to certain extent. So I am actually, based on what Subro has told, and based on some of my understanding, my experiences, my interaction with the students, I actually develop a framework. So if Subro is a representative student, representative means he is like not very, some people are there. Let's say, for example, one colleague of mine is there. If you give her any situation, she will always, even if you take her to the Maha 5-star hotel, 10-star hotel also, there also she will find so many issues, so many difficulties. ऐसा नहीं है, लाइट ज़्यादा होता है, पावर ज़्यादा है इसका इधर से स्विमिंग पूल टेढ़ा दिखता है, इस मतलब she will find out, means fault finding expert, so fault will be found out like that. So this is actually, this is not an average person. Another person is there, he is always happy. For example, generally, if you look at the class, you will find in the class there are some backbenchers. They are always happy. You give them 0 in internal, they are happy. If they get 10 in internal, then also they are happy. Every time they are happy. If the teacher falls down from the podium, then also they are happy. If the teacher tells that today there will be no class, then also they are happy. If the teacher tells that there will be 2 extra classes, then also they are happy. So these type of people, they are not average people, because they are happy in all situations. Another person finds fault in all situations. Not such type of people. They are a different type of case. But if we can take an average person who is okay, who tells good, what is bad, he tells bad. Not so much of a fault finder also. not some so much of an appreciator also. In between, likes this type of thing. So if I can get an average people, then the result of that case study can be generalized. But if I can find a need to perform a case on a special type of people who has special likes, special dislikes, or some reasons why he or she has become special, then obviously we need to pick up that particular case. So this is about some things about the case study. Actually, this is the last class of this semester from my side. And then we have a case study also. It's named the Bimal Canteen. It is also published case study. So I will share that publication and I will discuss this case study and put it up a video of this case study. I will put up in my next presentation, which will be a video presentation.